Imagine a company that's like Amazon, SoFi, and FedEx rolled into one, but for a fast-growing region of the world with massive untapped potential. Now picture that company being insulated from the US tariff chaos and trading at a valuation that screams opportunity. That is MercadoLibre, ticker symbol MELI. And before you just miss this as another tech stock pitch, let me show you why MELI is uniquely positioned to dominate Latin America's e-commerce, fintech, and logistic markets, and why waiting could mean missing out bigly. So I'll give you 3 reasons I'm buying it in the next few minutes and the exact price I'm buying it at. I'll also give you the 3 rules that mean investing success is no longer based on luck, because it isn't. And for those of you who want to make money in this bear market and then the rally that comes afterwards and in any other market forever after, I have recorded a separate 15-minute video to teach you those 3 rules that all the most successful investors in the world use. How do you get access? You go to felixprehn.com/get-free and you watch it completely for free. Now, on a personal note, my adopted cat Sabrina just had her Easter kittens, and I'll add a little clip of them at the end of the video if you're into kittens. If not, you'll know where to run away. MercadoLibre is the king of e-commerce in Latin America. Since 1999, the dark days of the dot-com bubble, it's built a 3-pronged empire. E-commerce, think Amazon, but tailored for Latin America's unique markets. MercadoPago, a fintech platform a bit like SoFi meets PayPal, and they had a child, a bit like our kittens. And it lets those cash-based customers, which a lot of Latin America is, shop online and beyond. And then we got Mercado Envios, a logistics network delivering same-day or next-day shipping in a region where that was just unheard of. People are like, I'm sorry, what? You're going to deliver this to me? It's actually going to arrive the next day? Are you people crazy? So what sets MercadoLibre apart? It's solving regional problems, from cash-heavy economies to unreliable logistics. And this gives it a competitive edge over giants like, yes, Amazon, who quite frankly struggle to crack Latin America's markets. MercadoLibre is growing fast. In 2024, its revenue jumped 38% year over year. Its fintech arm saw a payment volume soar 34%, and net income, which is real profit, it doubled almost, up 94%. It's a company firing on all cylinders, capitalizing on Latin America's booming demand for online shopping and digital payments. Now, what's the unique advantage? It's almost entirely insulated from US tariffs because its business is exclusively in Latin America. US trade policies, they just don't care. The company has, in fairness, full disclosure, recently opened a Texas distribution center to ship US goods to Mexico, but that's a small side project and I don't think that's the end of the world. For decades, MercadoLibre has thrived without relying on the US, and it's built to keep growing no matter what happens in the US market. So unlike Amazon, which battles in a pretty saturated market now, MercadoLibre dominates in a region where e-commerce and fintech are literally just taking off. MercadoPago, the fintech side, is a lifeline for cash-based customers, even serving people who don't shop on MercadoLibre's platform, and their logistics arm is completely changing fast deliveries in places where that was once impossible. So they have a first-mover advantage. It's a regional powerhouse, very simple. So let me show you then 2 charts. Why I'm buying it here and exactly the price I'm buying it at. So first on the chart here, you've got 2 squiggly lines, right? Squiggly lines mean a lot to you, I'm sure. What's the green line? Well, the green line, and it says it here at the bottom, this is basically cash or free cash flow, if you want to be fancy about it. The purple thing is basically return on investment, ROIC in short. And why do you care about those things? Well, as I always say, if you invested in a friend's business, would you want to know if they generated cash at the end of the year so you could pay you? Probably, right? And would you want to know how much money you make on that investment, right? For example, you go and buy a condo as an investment, you want to lease it out, or a house. What do you ask yourself? You ask yourself 2 questions, right? You ask yourself, how much rent am I going to get? And how much cash do I have to invest? And that is what? That is exactly what return on investment is. So those are the 2 key numbers that we look at. And, well, guess what? They're going up. That's kind of all I need to know, really. That's like really, really useful that I now know that. So the second thing is I look at the stock chart. Now, the stock chart tells you pretty much everything you ever wanted to know, because we can assume that the sum of all the investors in the world, all the hedge funds, all the pension funds, all the banks in the world will come up with a reasonable analysis. That, of course, isn't really true in the short term, but in the long term, it's true. But it gives us a lot of information that, everybody sort of came together with. And one of the things I like to look at is I like stocks that don't move very much. So if you've watched my masterclass at felixfriends.org/getfree, then you will know what I'm about to show you. And you'll be like, yeah, I remember that. So this is a stock that's basically been treading water since about September 2024. And we actually like that. I know it sounds weird, but we actually really, really, really like that because it means the longer the sideways action, the bigger the breakout when it happens. So what are we looking at here? Highs, that sort of thing. But we actually go a little bit further if we want to look at where do we buy. Now, the simplest thing, and I appreciate I'm throwing quite a few things here at you if you haven't ever looked at a stock chart before. Here in TradeVision, which is the software I'm using, which is the one we built, click on the moving averages line, turn on the 50 and the 150. Now, you want your stock to be above those when you buy. Why? I don't know why I want to buy down here. Wouldn't that be better, Felix? Well, at this point, the likelihood that it's going to go much lower is very, very great. Now, of course, in hindsight, it looks like a good buy point, but we don't have hindsight, right? We don't have the benefit of that. So what we look at instead is we want to be above the 50 line and the 150 line. And then we simply take the last three highs and we draw a little line through them. Sounds a bit silly, doesn't it? Sounds a bit childish, quite frankly. But that bright, bushy-eyed green line there is your trend line. And what do you see? Well, the good old folks at MercadoLibre are sort of at that trend line. So as I'm recording this, the dotted line here, 2066, so we're trading. So we're slightly below it again. We've popped out above it twice. We're slightly below it. So with almost any single video where I say I'm about to buy the stock, I don't just hit the buy button. I make it a conditional order. I buy it once we close above this particular trend line. So what do I want? I'd ideally like it to be a little higher above that recent high here. That would be my sweet spot. But at the very least, I'd like us to close above the trend line because it means it's much more likely that we're going to go up. So I basically want to buy, in my dream world scenario, at about 2,120. And you might be thinking, Felix, you're a bit of a nutter. You're a bit of a loon. Why do you like paying more for things? So for me, it's buy if closes, so the end of the day, above 2,120 approximately. That's dollars. Why do I like to buy things higher? Because the likelihood at that point that it's going to go up is much, much greater. Why? Because I'm not the only one who has these loony rules. Every successful investor, every successful trader in the world looks at the same rules. So we all look at the same thing. We look at it closing above it and we go, it's closing above it, let's all buy it. And then we all buy it and then it's going to go up, right? And then everybody goes, oh my God, it's going up. And then they jump on board and then it goes up a lot. And then everybody else jumps on board who's really late to the party. And that's how we make money. It sounds a bit silly, doesn't it? But that's how it works. So that's my entry point there. Now, what about risks? There are always risks, right? Every stock has risks. And analysts, those Muppets with the high-paid jobs, they expect MercadoLibre's revenue growth to slow to 24% in 2025. I don't know what's going on with the accent here, which might worry some investors. And if Mexico slaps tariffs on US goods, that Texas distribution center could see a dip. But honestly, MercadoLibre's core business, e-commerce, fintech, logistics in Latin America, well, that business is rock solid. And with a market cap far smaller than Amazon's, it actually has room to grow. Plus, its valuation is a bargain compared to Amazon's during its high growth years. Not right now, high growth years. So Latin America's digital economy is very, very young and very, very attractive, and it is perfectly positioned to ride this wave for decades. I could have said something much more inappropriate there. I saved myself from that. Now, this is a stock for patient investors, in my humble opinion, who want big returns. This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy it. I'm just telling you and sharing with you and being frank about what I am doing. You've got to come to your own conclusion and you've got to learn the rules yourself. But in short, in summary, why is MercadoLibre the deal of the century? It's a tariff-proof growth machine. dominating a region with massive potential. And therefore, if you're ready to add MercadoLibre to your portfolio, and you have to say it like that, by the way, since it's essential, do your own research, but don't wait too long to do the research, and make sure you learn the rules the most successful investors use to know when to buy and, most importantly, when to take profits, right? So go sign up for that free 15-minute masterclass I made just for you while I show you my kittens.
So these guys were born on Easter Sunday, and there are 5 of them. And this here is the mummy, Sabrina. They're very sweet. They're very fragile still, obviously. And they've all just eaten, so that they are now snoozing together like the little kittens that they are. And Sabrina, come. And this is the mummy, who's of course a little tired. We adopted her a few months back, and then rather surprise, she got pregnant. So now we've got her and a little pack of 5 more. Little one.
In this video, I'm going to show you why Wall Street is bullish. I'll show you the actual entry points that the biggest head honcho on Wall Street is recommending to institutional investors. And I appreciate you're not an institutional investor. I'm not an institutional investor.